You are listening to Awake in Relationship, a podcast about intimacy, community, and culture in a time of great change, with Silas Rose.
Hello friends, my name is Silas Rose, and this is Awake in Relationship. If you're a regular listener, you probably know that I am a huge lover of dance. I've actually done a few interviews on the topic. I really believe it's the perfect medicine for this time. And if I was still practicing Chinese medicine, it'd be the one prescription I'd give to everyone. Go find yourself a dance floor. It'll make you feel better. Since time immemorial, humans have used dance as a form of sacrament in tribal and ceremonial settings for both healing and social well-being. The rhythmic beat of a djembe, or for that matter a subwoofer, connects us with the internal rhythm of the heart. When we move to the beat with others, we also discover something so missing in our world these days. A deep sense of connection. I see dance as really a form of co-regulation in public space. It's no wonder that ecstatic dance, a form of conscious dance, has really exploded in the past few years. In a time when there's so much change and things feel like they're just falling apart everywhere, this form of dance is really breaking down barriers to connection and building community in a most exquisite way. In this episode of Awake in Relationship, I speak with returning guest, Shauna Devlin, the founder of Dance Your Ability, a not-for-profit that brings conscious dance to traditionally underserved communities, including elders and the differently abled. Shauna trained in 5 rhythms under Gabrielle Roth and has been rocking dance floors for over 20 years. In this conversation, we explore the many facets and practices of conscious dance from the perspective of a seasoned facilitator and DJ. We also discuss the healing power of music and moving together, and how to make this medicine more accessible in the world. So regardless whether you are a seasoned dancer or just dance curious, this episode's for you. Shauna Devlin, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. You were actually one of my first interviews back in 2020, I think it was before the pandemic, so it might have been 2019. And at that time, you were, I think, just about to launch Dance Your Ability. So maybe give us a little bit of an update about what you've been up to.
Yeah, so that was the first Dance Your Ability training that I offered back then. It was me, was 2019, 2020, and then COVID hit. So during those years, we did 2 or 3 online and then 1 in person in Vancouver, which was great. And now we're going to Calgary, Victoria, and Toronto. It's exciting to bring it to places because it is like you've done it online, and so the way we've formatted the training now is it's 2 weekends in person, a month apart, and then within that month there's 4 Zoom sessions with things that we can do online that we don't have to do in person, so that the intention is that when we're in person, we really, practice. And so participants really get to step in front of the group and try some of the tools on and really practice leading, which is more of a challenge on Zoom. A lot of people want to work in person. And just to be in a room with someone and to practice and learn how to read body language and to read the vibe of a group and like, oh, okay, well, we actually need to go this way. You can read things through Zoom, but it's obviously more challenging.
Yeah, it might be interesting to just explore like what is conscious dance? How does it differentiate from
other dance? Yeah. So of course, when we think of dance, we think of like a dance class, like ballet, or performance stuff, or we think of partner dance, perhaps like Latin dance or something. Dance. The word dance brings a lot of people. Sometimes people will immediately go back to being 13 at their first high school dance and experience that sort of painful moment, or maybe being a child and doing your free dance and someone saying, oh, settle down, or boys can't do that, or whatever society stuff is telling us. So conscious dance essentially is a place where a facilitator or DJ is going to create a music set, and following an arc or a wave, generally, not always, but that's how I work, and the Five Rhythms works with that style. So the music starts off sort of slow and it builds and it crescends, it has a peak, and then it comes out the other side. And what people are invited to do is to move to their response to that music, whatever that looks like. And so someone might come in really tired, and they're invited to move with tired, or so it's an embodiment practice, right? It's a community. It's very therapeutic. It's not therapy per se, but it is I've had countless people say to me, I just did 5 years of therapy in this hour and a half class. It's a place to release. It's a place to check in. Like, how am I feeling? I'm going to move my shoulders, and then it's like, wow, I'm really tight. So then I'm going to spend some time there, and all of a sudden there's some release. We can work with emotions in dance, partner work, solo work. It's all there. So depending on the modality and the intention, lots can happen. And an ecstatic dance is different. It's not generally facilitated. It's more of a kind of conscious rave in a way. Like there's just that difference. So there's a real space just to move and dance, and then conscious dance generally is done by a person that's done some sort of training, a facilitator, and they're going to facilitate throughout. So really different kind of vibes. Ecstatic dances tend to be larger, a little bit higher energy, but not always. And so they cross over, but there is some difference there.
Oh, well, here in Victoria, we are blessed with a dance temple. It's every Sunday morning, and basically there could be over 150 people in the room sometimes. So yeah. I love that idea of, it is kind of like a rave.
Mm-hmm.
Without
less the intoxicants and the that part, and it's and it has a start and a finish.
Yeah,
there's a beginning and an end, and those are generally held with some intention and sacredness, and then there's a big dance in the middle. And then whereas conscious dance, you can work with themes. There can be a teaching involved, partner exercises, conversations, things like that. So dance your ability. What I saw is that I would go into outreach settings and I wasn't really doing the 5 rhythms per se. Who I am is from my practice, which is the 5 rhythms. And any space I walk into, I'm bringing that as my practice, right? It's everything. It's my spirituality. It's my meditation. It's my embodiment practice. So it holds a lot for me. But I wasn't really doing that. It was different. But my goal was to give people space to experience the gold of conscious dance, the gold of ecstatic dance, where you just get to do your dance. And it's so miraculous and it's so beautiful. And so much joy happens, and with joy there's always the sadness, so we get to dance with the sadness and we get to dance with the joy, and we feel connected.
So I'm a real lover of electronic music, which really, goes back to the 90s, which I guess I was a bit late coming to the party in terms of rave, but that's when the fire got lit for me, especially in terms of dance. There was something really I found quite raw about the music, particularly like techno and even early dubstep. There was a kind of a punk element to it. I'm curious if you ever spent time at the rave in those days.
Oh yeah, I didn't. I was busy in discotheques in the Caribbean. My family lived down in Dominican Republic in St. Lucia during that time, and so I also worked in the ski industry. So I would come to Canada for the winters and then be in the Caribbean for the summers. So I missed, that was the late 80s and most of the 90s. I moved back to Canada in the late 90s, but I started a family. So, and I was living on a Gulf island. So I missed the raves, but I was busy in Latin American style. Like I was really enthralled with Latin dance, merengue and salsa. It was like almost 10 years of being fully immersed every single night going to the discotheque.
Back then, the DJs were really kind of like gods in terms of the magic they weaved. And, it's sort of a different story these days, that in the sense that, everyone's a DJ. And that's largely because the barrier to entry has been lowered. You don't really have to learn how to beat match, and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on records. You can just buy MP3 files. So in some sense, I feel like the art of DJing has been maybe a little bit watered down because of that. What is it that sort of distinguishes a good DJ from the herd, as it were?
Well, one that, makes you feel your feelings, probably. That's what I mean. There's a good musical component. I think that DJs that dance make good DJs.
Is that not a given?
I don't know. There's been some I've seen over the years that I'm like, do you dance? And yeah, I don't think it is a given, but and that's okay too. There's a lot that's transmitted. So a good DJ, you have to have some good skills, of course. And I think you have to have such a deep love for music, but music outside of yourself as well. So there's a real, you can be a real music nerd, but that doesn't mean that you can, which ones to play for a group. So there's always that fine line. Like if I mentor anyone on playing music, I'd like to remind them that song that you think is so great, but you have to break down why it's great for you. And often it's a memory that's attached to it, or a moment where you felt it and it just doesn't translate to a floor. A few years ago, I played something, and in its day, it was an 80s song. In its day, it was great, but, and sometimes a lot of those songs can translate and still be current, but just didn't work. And I realized it was like one of my tracks from when I was how old I was, 15 or something. And anyway, I don't know. I think that if a DJ can be really in tune with themselves, but also with the audience or the group that they're working with. And that's the thing. I use that word audience. That's not my place to play. I've played for audiences and it doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, there's an exchange.
I don't like being the entertainment, and I like creating a community space rather than being the entertainment. In my time, I have DJ'd for weddings or parties or whatever it is, because the people have come to my event and they felt good, and they're like, I want that at my wedding, or and then I will come, but it's so different. Like, people are coming to a wedding and they're going to have some alcohol, and they want to, so one lady came up to me one time, she's all drunk. When are you going to play some disco? And, so that's not my thing. So there's so many different types of DJs, and there's so many different venues within conscious dance or rave community or festivals. And, so for me, I'm creating a journey, and that's what I like to do. And even like, I play a lot of dance temples, which I would deem ecstatic dance. And those can even start to wear on me a little bit because of the lack of connection, and where it's just me playing music. And I don't get to stop and say, okay, let's try this, or let's create some art together, or things. And so the ecstatic dance world can get a little bit lacking for me. So, and it's amazing to have, 100, 200 people dancing their faces off together is beautiful. So I don't mean to take away from that. I'm just talking about my experience of it.
In your work with danceability, you probably play out more than a lot of club DJs, which makes me wonder how you prepare in advance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I have my way. Like, I consider myself to be an artist, and that sort of like an artist, mysticy kind of like I feel, like a tarot deck. That's how I feel with the music, because I have so much music. I let things surface. I let songs come to the top, and then I see what's there. Then I also have a reading disability, so I can't just say, oh, that song by John Smith. Let's find that song by John Smith. I don't know the names of tracks. Of course, I know some, but I don't know many. So I have a way of organizing them with certain words. And so I find music that way. So again, it's sort of like a tarot deck. If I type in, with 5 rhythms, in the 5 rhythms practice, for those that don't know, it was created by Gabrielle Roth in the 70s, and it's a beautiful practice. But we follow a map with 5 different rhythms, and first rhythm is flowing. So within my library, I'll have things tagged under flowing, and then there'll be sub tags like flowing inertia, or flowing into staccato, or whatever my thing is. So then I never know what songs are actually going to come up, because I've tagged them. And so then I have a pool to look at. But so say preparing for a danceability class, of course, it depends on the group. And if I'm working with people that say are living with dementia, then I'm going to pick music of their generation only. That's how I work. I do see some people do like they play current music, but I'm in there for the medicine, and I know the medicine happens when they hear music from their generation. And of course they can hear new music. That's not a problem, but that's just not the way I go about it. And so I just go in and I listen to tracks that I like. I've gotten very good at having my libraries much bigger with music from the 40s and the 50s. I only play songs that I really like, because that's another thing, is to embody the music that you're playing. And I think that's really important. But say for a 5 rhythms event, so this is how I work. Say I've got 3 events for the week. I have playlists. I open up playlists, create a playlist, I should say. And then throughout the week, I just throw songs in, because I'm always listening to music. And not always, but I go for walks to listen to music, and I'll just put them in those playlists. I'm like, oh, that's a good dance temple song, or that's perfect for the theme I'm working with the 5 rhythms class, or, oh, that'd be a fun one for kids. That'll be a good one to get them moving. And then I have those playlists. And then when I go to work with that playlist for that event, I tag any songs that haven't been tagged. So I'm constantly organizing my music. Organization is, for me, I think, the number one thing for working with music. Otherwise, you'll drown.
I feel that in my limited experience in DJing, that it's incredibly vulnerable to play music for people. And
yes.
And the art of it is really about managing your internal state. That when you are actually enjoying the music or really into the music, then, chances are people are going to dance. How do you manage your internal state?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I first started, I remember like literally pushing play and looking away from the dancers because I was too nervous to see how they were going to respond. And now I don't do that. The painful part is for me, when I play a track and I'm like, oh, this is not, then you got to, obviously you can fade it out and start a new one, but it's sometimes you got to see it through. But honestly, the dancing, because I'm moving while I'm playing, that's very helpful, and playing songs that I like. So then that's helpful too. And I surrender to the dance. And, I have a lot of years and a lot of hours. Like I work a lot. I say yes. I don't say yes to everything anymore, but I used to say yes to everything because I knew the way for me to get better was to do it. I'm not going to learn in my office by myself. I need to be with people and be courageous and push play and fail and flump and do all the things. But honestly, I have played music since I was younger. I often gravitated towards the stereo. Back in the olden days, it was records, and I was really comfortable looking at someone's record collection and picking what to listen to and stuff. That was a place that I like to hang out. And so, and I grew up in a really musical, not instruments, but my mom and stepdad had a massive record collection and they played music all the time. So it's comfortable for me to play music. But it is a painful thing, like where you put a song on, like you say, so there's different venues, right? Like Dance Temple, people come and go. They can arrive whenever they want. They can leave whenever they want. They can leave the space and go and talk. Whereas if it's a class or a workshop, people are in. So when things get uncomfortable, we move through it. And if it's a Dance Temple ecstatic dance situation, you can be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, or I don't like this song, I'm out of here. So then the container can get kind of loose. And for me, that's really hard. I don't like that. I'm like, yeah, so maybe you don't like this song, but look, this person does, and they're part of our community. So I like to call that love of music and movement. It's like, that's their language. And so you don't speak this language, but that person does. So look to them, look how they're moving to this music, and that's their language. So like, fall in love with that.
It's compersion.
But pardon?
I think the term is compersion.
Compersion? I don't know that word.
Basically, it's taking joy in the joy of others,
Ah, I love it. Yes, yeah. I'm going to look that one up.
One of the reasons I love conscious dance is it really feels like something I can grow old with.
I hope so. I hope that, because I'll still want to dance, and I trust that others will still want to dance. And I hope that, I don't know if my body wants to carry speakers into my 70s, but maybe. It's still good for you. It's just the lugging of the speakers is a funny thing. I don't dislike it. It's just a funny thing. 100%. I want to keep playing music for people to move their bodies. And this is my current profession, and I hope that it's also my profession in retirement. And I hope to not retire and just keep it's just the best medicine, and it's the place where magic is created, and it never gets old. And it's we've always made music, and we've always moved our bodies, and we've done that together. And so I hope to continue to do that and be with people.
Well, Shauna, thank you so much for the chat. And people want to find out more about the Dance Your Ability trainings coming up. Where can they go?
They can go to the website, danceyourability.com, and you can visit me at shaunadevlin.net. yeah, but we're out there and doing really amazing work. And another thing to, even if you're not interested in the training, but it's to go on Instagram and follow Dance Your Ability on Instagram, because we post a lot of representation. So all different bodies, all different ages, sizes, and doing dance. And so that's another thing I'm really passionate about, is representation. I truly believe in representation, and that, we're in a, it's the pool is a white, cisgendered, certain body type, slim body type thing, and it's just not reality. And so the more we can represent different colors and sizes and shapes and abilities, that is just a better world. So Instagram is a fun place to be on Dance Your Ability, because we have lots of amazing humans doing their dance.
Well, I'll see you on the dance floor.
Yeah, thanks, Silas. It was fun to do this.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Shauna. And if you did, please consider forwarding it to a friend. If you want to learn more about Shauna's work or the Dance Your Ability training, head over to danceyourability.com. You can also check out awakenrelationship.com, and I'll post some links there in the show notes. I can be found on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Substack. If you have any feedback or suggestions for future guests, reach out to me through the contact page on my website or on my socials. I love hearing from my listeners. If you made it this far into the episode, I want to thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. Keep dancing and stay connected.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Awake in Relationship. If you liked what you heard, please click subscribe to get the latest show delivered fresh to your device, or sign up for our newsletter at awakeinrelationship.com. Sharing is caring.